What is up, fellow summoners? Welcome to the channel today to another first look video at Vulture, the second of the two new tech characters coming to the contest. Yesterday we looked at Spider-Man Stark Technology, or no, I keep calling him Technology, it's Stark Enhanced. And to be honest, when I initially found out that these two characters were coming, it was Vulture that I was really excited about. I felt like he was going to be the character that was going to be the better of the two. However, after looking at the Spider-Man abilities yesterday and kind of taking some time to walk through all of that, I was really impressed with that Spider-Man. I think he's going to be a very strong champ. So Vulture now has got some really big shoes to fill here to be as good or possibly better than Spider-Man. It's going to take quite a bit for him to push above Spider-Man, in my opinion. So having said all that, let's get right into the abilities list. We'll start with... what do I want to start with? I guess we'll start with the signature ability there, Thermal Absorption. Has a couple different aspects to it that are all passive. The first of which is you start with full 100 Chitauri energy, which I'm just going to say energy for the remainder of this, but that's what I'm talking about. You start with full 100 energy. Each Incinerate buff that is applied to you, you're going to be converting that into energy as well. Really, the second part of that is not a huge deal. There aren't really that many characters that cause incinerates, and additionally, you don't want to get hit by them anyway. So we're talking Hyperion's S1, Agent Venom, Crossbones, both of them with an S2 have got incinerate. Cable with his S2, I believe, has an incinerate. So overall, it's actually a pretty small percentage of characters that have incinerate. And you really don't want to get hit by it anyway, but it's there. I guess it's kind of part of his overall character build. But the big thing is you're going to start with 100 energy. And I'm assuming it doesn't say this anywhere, and all of the Vultures that you're going to fight in Master Mode, Heroic Mode, all the special events, they're all awakened. So when he's unawakened, I don't know how much energy he starts with. I'm going to assume that it's 50, but I have nothing to base that on. So anyway, I don't know how good that awakened ability is. You know, if he starts the fight with 75 energy, you know, the jump from 75 to 100 is not that big of a deal. So I don't know. But what I think the bigger part here to his signature ability, the bigger aspect to it, is that when you have an Incinerate on the enemy, you actually are gaining power every single second. And what you'll see here, here in a few seconds, is you actually convert your Chitauri energy into Incinerates on the enemy. So you're going to be gaining a lot of energy throughout the fight. You're going to be converting that over into Incinerates. There's going to be Incinerates on the enemy for a big duration of the fight. And really, we've not seen a character before that places an Incinerate kind of like a bleed. You know, like Archangel has got, you know, bleeds that you're constantly putting on the enemies. He has got something similar to that, except it's not a bleed, it's an Incinerate. So I think the bigger part of the awakened ability is actually wrapped up in that very last line there, because the Incinerates are going to be up for a long duration of the fight. You're going to be gaining a lot of power. It's almost like a passive Mystic Dispersion throughout the fight that'll be ticking away every single second. So while it doesn't look like a huge power gain, just remember that is going to be up. I would say probably have a tick time up of more than 75%. So let's move down here to the actual ability list. Let's talk about what you can use your energy for. So this is kind of unique. I can't think of really anybody else that's got something like this, but when you dash back and come back in, he does what's called a Raptor Strike, which I don't know why they call it Raptor Strike, but regardless, and you spend 50 energy if you have 50 energy at least available. So you dash back, you come back in, two things are going to take place. If you successfully hit the opponent, it's going to drain 25% of their current power, which, again, you almost don't want to hit the enemy at the very beginning because this is 25% of overall power. So if they've got like 1 bar of power or less than 1 bar of power and you use this, that's a lot of energy to spend to drain a very small amount. So you actually would probably want to wait and use this maybe when they've got more like 2 bars of power, or you're really trying to control the fight, because that's when the 25% will be a bigger chunk. But if you don't hit the enemy, if there's not a successful hit, you hit into their block, you're actually going to receive what's called a decoy buff. And I've got a picture of it here. It's that blue decoy there, blue buff I should say right there. But what that's going to allow you to do is the next hit that you would have received, whether you were going to block that hit or whether it was going to hit you directly, they will completely miss. Now, the biggest part of this that I don't want you to miss is I think this is almost like a free intercept, basically. So if you can imagine, the fight starts. Let's say you have an awakened ability, you're at 100 energy, you decide to dash back, come forward, hit into their block, now you've got a decoy buff. Basically, you can just dash forward whenever you're ready, and you're never going to have to worry about not getting the intercept as long as they're coming at you. You know, if they try to hit you, if the intercept would not have worked, it's just going to miss. You're not even going to take any damage, and you're going to connect on the intercept. If you do get the intercept timing right, then you're going to hold on to that decoy buff. So I think that that's actually very powerful. And really, you can only have one of those decoy buffs at any one time. So getting that right at the very beginning and trying to keep that up for as much of the fight as possible, I think is a really critical part of playing the character. Each time that Vulture lands a critical hit, he will be gaining 5 energy. So at the very most, with a 5-hit combo, if every single one of your hits crit, you'd be looking at 25 energy. Probably it's, you know, you're talking 5 to 10 energy is what you can reliably get every single 5-hit combo. Plus, it's also going to your S1 and your S2. Every time those crit, you're going to be gaining energy as well. So you're actually going to be picking up energy, even though it costs a lot. 50 energy is a lot to use the Raptor Strike. I feel like you're going to be able to pick it up fairly quickly. The last thing I want to mention real quick that I think is really, really cool is every time, and this is what I was talking about as far as having Incinerate on the ability or on the enemy a long time. How do I want to put this? Vulture has got a built-in Dexterity Mastery, but it costs 10 energy to use. Every time, you can read it here, every time you evade an attack while dodging back, you consume 10 energy and you convert that into an Incinerate on the enemy. And you can only have one stack of this at a time. It lasts for 5 seconds. So it's kind of a trade-off here. You're losing energy by evading back, but at the same time now you are putting an Incinerate on the enemy, which if he's awakened, now you're gaining additional power, which is going to allow you to use more specials, have more opportunities to crit, more opportunities to get more energy back. So it's got a really good flow to it. One of the things that I pointed out yesterday with Spider-Man that I like so much is the fact that all of his abilities are kind of wrapped up into normal gameplay. It doesn't have the kind of clunky, weird swipe back and hold abilities that we've seen in the past with like Gambit or Kamala Khan, where it kind of takes you out of what you normally would be doing in order to use the character, and it makes it more clunky than anything. What I really like about this is you're normally evading, you're normally dashing back and coming in trying to intercept. Those are all parts of normal gameplay, and by doing that, Vulture is going to have all these really interesting mechanics and effects that take place. So I really, really like that. I think Kabam is spot on with his abilities here. He passively has a permanent armor buff. It increases his armor by 8.03 per point of Chitauri energy. Which is nice. Always having a passive block proficiency is good. If this buff is removed for any reason, it will refresh itself after 10 seconds. So the only reason that you would lose it, I guess, is if you completely spend all of your Chitauri energy. The only time I could think that you really would ever do that is if you land right at 50 and try to use a Raptor Strike. I guess it could fall off. Because it doesn't say anywhere here that you use it or that you lose it from getting hit. So it's only going to be when you actually lose your last energy when you spend all that up. So now on to the special abilities. The special attack 1 and 2 actually mirror each other very, very similarly. If you take a look there, they both apply a debuff to the enemy. The S1 is a siphon charge debuff, and the S2 is a thermal feedback debuff. And they both last, well, I shouldn't say that. S1 lasts for 15 seconds, the S2 lasts for 10 seconds, and they both apply a 25% power burn to the enemy. Now, the S1 is going to convert all of that power that's burned into Chitauri energy for yourself to be able to use, whereas the S2 is going to convert all of the power that is burned into direct damage on the enemy over 10 seconds. So the S1 is much more focused on, I think, overall control, because what you are doing is you're not doing additional damage in the sense of just the S1 directly doing it, but by gaining additional energy for yourself, you then can convert that into additional Incinerates when you evade. You can do additional Raptor Strikes with that and actually have more power control if you're landing the intercept. So the S1 I think has more benefit for you personally, especially if you're fighting enemies who you're trying to power control more, whereas the S2 has more of a benefit for the offensive side. It does more damage overall. So that's the two ways I think that those differentiate. The special attack 3, I don't know. I guess if you don't necessarily need to power control right away by using the S1, you could get to the S3 and slap that on there. It is going to last for 20 seconds, deals energy damage over that 20 seconds. So again, I guess it's just kind of an additional dot ticking for damage on top of the incinerates that you would apply. 20 seconds I think is probably enough also to get back to another S2. So between the incinerate, between the power burn from the S2, possibly the energy damage for the S3, you could have a lot of damage over time, things that are all happening at once. Additionally, with the S3, it does also remove perfect block chance and reduces block proficiency by 50% while it is active. Again, those are not really big game-changing things, not really something you need to worry about. You're just going to be doing a little bit of additional damage while that 20 seconds is active. Overall, I feel like he's a little bit more straightforward than Spider-Man is, but on the other hand, I think he's actually got a level of depth to him that is easy to overlook if you're just trying to find out, like, hey, what kind of damage does he do, or what kind of power control does he have? Because I think it's more in depth when you take a look at how the Chitauri energy, you gain it by spending it. Spending it by putting the incinerates, and that gives you more power, which allows for more S1s, more S2s. That kind of all stacks on top of each other. And for me, at least on the surface, it looks like it makes a very fluid character, very fluid gameplay that I think is going to be a lot of fun to use. I think of the two characters, if I had to pick one, I think I would go with Spider-Man. Not saying that Vulture is not a good character, because I think he is actually very strong. I think he is going to do more damage than people realize, and having the decoy debuff I think is going to be really, really important. Being able to use that for basically being more aggressive, and as long as you have it, not worrying about missing an intercept, I think is very, very important there as well. So overall, that's kind of my first look on both of the characters. Let me know what you think. I hope these videos have helped you decide maybe if you're leaning one way or the other. I'm sure much more information will come out here this weekend as Spider-Man is finally pulled out of the arena. We'll get more of an in-depth look at him, and then we'll follow that one up with Vulture as well. But I really enjoy doing these videos. Let me know what you guys think, if you'd like to see more of these in the future or not. All right, I will see you all in the next video. Until then, have a great day.